Hello everyone and welcome to What Culture. My name is Jules Gill and I'm joined by Ash Millman.
It's close enough.
Here's the news delivered in a flash. Time for Jules and time for Ash.
Oh, right, and we are back in the room. The first time is always the hardest one, isn't it? It's weird, it makes you feel sick.
I'm suffering a bit, but I'll be okay.
It's okay, just don't try and stand up for the next sort of like 20 minutes, all right? Cool, right, there is news, and there's also a reason why Zoe is here. Not because Ash is buried in a desert somewhere after a long weekend, but also because we're going to be talking about some comic book related stuff from Zoe and you, and obviously head up our comic book channel.
And
you definitely
huge
you should definitely check it out. So we're talking Batman today. Because obviously the new Batman film is coming out in 2021, so still a long way away. And now we've obviously got, Warner Brothers is rebranding it all, it's got brand new characters coming in, a new take on the storyline, and apparently the focus is going to be a much more character-driven story about Batman actually being a detective for once, which is going to be great.
I think it's probably time to have the world's greatest detective be a detective.
Actually doing some detective work. But the question is that in order to do that, you need to have a very, very a good rogues gallery, because Batman is only really as good as the enemy he's facing, because he obviously rises to the challenge of whatever he's being presented with. And Matt Reeves has done some strange casting choices. One, which makes perfect sense, in that he's asked Jeffrey Wright to come in and be Commissioner Gordon, which I think is going to be absolutely brilliant.
I think there is a better pick, to be fair.
I genuinely think that as an actor, he's got a crazy ability to be both serious, like comedical, like he's got a great screen presence, and I do feel like he is going to be a fantastic choice for that. But the stranger choice is that Matt Reeves is now in talks with Jonah Hill to join as a Batman villain.
One of the weirder ones, I will have to admit. Like, there are a lot of villains he could be.
Yeah,
but
so that's why we thought we would have a little chat today, is apparently like who we reckon that he might be and why. Because I would never ever immediately think, oh, Batman villain, Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, Joker, obviously.
We can't, no, he's definitely not the Joker, we can rule that one out,
It would be a dark,
surely.
dark day. What is your first pick, do you think?
Now, I've got a personal pick that I really want, and it's way out there.
Shoot the pick?
Right, no, this is the thing, I want him to be Julian Day. I want him to be Calendar Man.
That would be perfect.
Because every day is Julian Day. That's how it works. But no, ever since he got his very, very short appearance in the Arkham City game, I honestly was just thinking, like, what a great character. A man who kills on, like, certain days, and could you not imagine the sort of suspense that would come from that? I know it's a B villain. Like, I know it's a bit, like, very, very gimmicky.
Well, I think he's always gonna be a B villain.
Oh,
like, without sounding awful, my pick would have to be the Great White Shark, who, for anyone who doesn't know, is essentially this, he's like a white-collar criminal. He just sort of steals from people. He gets caught, he gets sent to Arkham, and then they drive him insane, and he becomes this crazy villain.
Okay.
So I think it'd be really cool to see him at the beginning. Oh, he's all full of jokes, he's all happy, and then suddenly, like, it cuts again. He's a villain, and it's terrifying.
Because that's one of the problems with Jonah Hill. I say a problem. He's a great actor. Like, he can bounce between the comedic and the serious, like, very, very quickly.
But you know him as...
Yeah, you know him as the silly guy. Like, I know he's done a lot of very serious work, but it's always got elements of the comedy, and it's a very quick-witted, sharp nature that he's got. And I feel like he therefore needs to be a villain that is equally as clever. So maybe the Riddler could work?
I've heard a lot of people say the Riddler. Personally, I think Clayface would be quite interesting. Because it plays with the idea of like, oh, I'm an actor, but also like, I'm terrifying and a crazy swamp monster.
I never thought about that, because I don't know why, but I just always assumed that it would just be a completely 100% physical role. But if we're saying Clayface, then obviously then he'd be able to like manipulate his shape and size.
And then you wouldn't have to, he could be literally anyone at the same time. It could be spooky as hell.
I'll tell you what, imagine if they went the completely other way, for no reason whatsoever, made him Solomon Grundy. Just that he just barely speaks, and only does it in crappy monotone stuff.
And you're like, oh, that's fine. He's just Condiment Man. And that's where we're at.
Condiment, is that the Condiment King?
It's Condiment King.
Condiment King.
Fake fan I am.
Wait, I'm trying to think of other sort of like weird DC villains that he could play.
Clock King.
I like Clock King. In the Batman animated series, he was really scary.
Yeah, he can be scary. It's just that he isn't generally.
No,
he generally isn't.
No.
He could be Ratcatcher, but that would just be.
I feel so sorry if he was Ratcatcher.
you get paid to be on Batman, and you're just like, I'm the Ratcatcher. Here I am.
I mean, the thing is that because we've seen a lot of like Marvel films go into the who is an enemy, who is a friend, especially with this sort of like recent Spider-Man film and things like that. assuming that he's going to be a villain from the off? Or do we think that he's going to be somebody maybe who turns to the dark and then becomes one of Batman's sort of greatest foes? Because the Penguin would work very well for that. Because imagine like Cobblepot, like he comes in, I'm not just judging on his physicality, but he could make for a very good physical representation of the Penguin before his fall.
The Penguin has always had a physicality about him, but that doesn't mean that he has to be played one specific way. I would say that Danny DeVito did a frankly terrifying job as him.
Well, he kind of he set the cast for it, really,
yeah,
didn't he? Because,
yeah, I'd say so.
Because he had that, and obviously the comic books were definitely supportive of a small...
A Danny DeVito-like man.
Yeah, Danny DeVito, but it was his sort of like viciousness that has now been sort of like played into it. Like, I love how they presented him in the Arkham games, like with the actual beer bottle like
that is terrifying,
into his eye. That was really scary. So there we have it. Those are our speculations as to who Jonah Hill might be able to play in the future.
Oh God, sorry I'm late, Jules. I've got those notes for this Batman video.
This is awkward. Smoke bomb.